How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the James Loud Podcast. Today, our special guest is Ed Rosenthal. He's inspired generations of people, including myself. He, in my opinion, is one of the most important people in cannabis for his original books, his passion for the sacred plant, his knowledge that he's imparted in people over the years, doing things when other people weren't doing it because they were scared. He stood up and did a lot of great things. So thank you so much for coming on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so we've been friends for a long time. I remember the first time we met was in Oakland a long time ago, and you were just one of the nicest guys. I really looked up to you at the time, and you were just so real. Sometimes people say, don't meet your idols. And with you, that's not the case. You're just the realest guy out there. You've always been authentic. I can appreciate all the things that we've done over the years, whether it was building some systems at your house or talking about weed or smoking a lot of weed. You've always just been a great guy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I wanted to do a little bit different interview today because you've been interviewed more than anyone I know. You wrote for High Times. You've done a little bit of everything in this scene. You kind of paved the way for all us authors that are, the new emerging authors. If it wasn't for you, Jorge, Mel Frank, and Robert Clark, I feel like we would be a lot further behind. And so let's talk about your legacy and, what it was like back then. You and Mel Frank were working and Jim were working back together a long time ago.
I was building little indoor greenhouses, tents, so to speak. And I went to Rolling Stone magazine, and they used to have a local edition. And this was in New York. And at the same time, Jim was showing his garden and doing a little article on that. And we were introduced by Rolling Stone. And then I convinced him to do a book. And that we should do a book together. And we did. And the book was successful. And we did the second book, which is what most people look at, which is the large edition. And since then, I've been able to continue my studies as well as do writing. So that's really good.
You're an amazing photographer. I've learned more about photography from you than anybody else. Angles, the simplicity of what you do in making a professional shot, and you make it look effortless. Some people, they want to make it look different, and I feel like you're just trying to capture the photo.
Well, I'm trying to represent what I'm seeing.
Right.
And rather than doing an art photo in terms of cannabis, and there's good reason to do that, but rather than do that, I want to depict what's actually there so that people get a feel of the reality.
Yeah, it's interesting. So when there weren't other books, where did you get all your information from back in the day?
From scientific research, from cultivation, books on cultivation, and from experience, from speaking with other people. And it was sort of inventive as well, because it's just what there was nobody to look to on this. And but both Jim and I were scientists, and so we were able to overcome that.
Yeah, it was pretty wild because it's like now we have these online resources and we have information everywhere. Like it's literally everywhere. There's misinformation everywhere too. But back then, you guys were having to sift through a lot of information, distill that into a book, into lectures. You did a lot of lectures. You wrote lots of High Times articles. The Ask Ed was one of the big things, my childhood. So when did the High Times stuff start taking off?
It started around 72, 73, and Tom Facade and I and a fellow by the name of Ron Lichty were all members of the news service run by the Yippies, Alternative Press Syndicate, and we were living collectively. So I was getting experience writing, and then when I met Jim, we decided to do the book. We were, and before I was doing that, I was already doing cannabis activism since '67.
Yeah, you've done a lot of activism.
Yes.
You've gone to court.
Yes.
You had some interesting court battles that were all over the news. That I think
Just one. Just
yeah,
one.
yeah. But that was pretty wild. That was pretty wild. And then I think it was different back then. You were looking at a lot of time, potentially getting a lot of time in prison.
Oh, well, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
I was looking that this was a new aspect of activism,
Yeah.
and that this would help change the marijuana laws.
Mm-hmm.
And it did.
Yeah.
So, and everybody else, or a lot of people thought I was going to go to prison, and people would give me this soon to be in prison look. And I had to eliminate those people from my life because I knew I was never going to go to prison. And in fact, the day before sentencing, it was a normal day at the office.
Normal day at the office, just going into court and doing your thing.
Yeah. They didn't have the guts to put me in prison.
Yeah.
And that's not, and what I mean by that is it's sort of like what's happening now and what happened in Minnesota with the over ICE.
Right.
There was so much protest and so much agony among the public that it changed the win ratio in terms of public opinion. And that's what I was interested in, was changing public opinion. Yeah. I wasn't worried about picking up some felonies or something like that. Mm-hmm. I had the exact right training because I was in the yippies. And of course, most people don't know about it today, but you might go see the movie, the Chicago trial of the Chicago 7. Mm-hmm. And that was sort of a blueprint for my trial.
Wow.
And we spent about $100,000 on publicity.
Amazing.
Yes.
Which in today's terms is probably like $1 million.
$500,000.
Yeah, $500,000.
$500,000. Yeah, on publicity.
Yeah.
And we didn't see it just as a trial to save me or something. This was what we were trying to do, was to change public opinion.
Yeah.
And that had been my goal. So other people would have seen this as a burden. I saw it more as an opportunity.
Yeah. And Tony Serra.
He had nothing to do with that.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Who was your lawyer?
Well, I had a bunch of lawyers. Most of them I feel, were incompetent. And the one that the trial was ruined, he was the first attorney, Figueroa. Mm-hmm. He's still around.
Yeah.
And he's a very good spokesperson. But what he did is he alienated the jury by questioning this person who was just a tester. She just did analysis, and he started harassing her. And he said, "You don't work there anymore. What happened? Were you fired?" She said, "No, my fireman husband was killed in action, and so I had to become a full-time parent." Mm. And that ended the trial as far as the jury was concerned.
Wow.
Very first person.
Yeah. So with legalization, when was the first time you thought that cannabis would become legal?
I knew it would become legal. It was a question of time.
Yeah.
And actually, in the summer of 1967, I had an apartment in the East Village or Lower East Side, depending on how you want to call it. And a bunch of us were sitting around, and we were talking about how long it would take to be legal. And some people said, this is 67, some people said 5 years, some people said 10 years. And I said it's going to be 20 years, because by that time, people will be junior executives, and they'll have some power, and they'll change it. And that would have been 1987, but that didn't happen. And then I was at a event, and I met a couple of older people about it, and they said it was going to be 2000. And especially Tim Leary said that. Mm-hmm. And directly, it will be 2000. And I believe that if Gore had won, that it would have been legal, but Gore didn't win, and Leary's prediction didn't come true. So
right.
Still isn't legal federally.
Unfortunately.
No.
Yeah, it's like I say it on my podcast all the time. We take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but at least we're going in the right direction.
Not right now.
Yeah.
We're going. We're taking we're taking 2 steps back.
Yeah.
Ohio is, even though the people voted for it in various states, the state legislatures are trying to nullify it.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, in Ohio, and the federal government certainly doesn't like it. People think, oh, what Trump said, about they're going to change it, but they by making a number 3, what it does is actually it institutionalizes pharmaceuticals, and so that all the companies that are producing products now, they wouldn't be able to produce it, and in fact, they're trying to eliminate the hemp to THC models and all of those.
Right.
And it's not going to work because it's like a whack-a-mole or a balloon. You squeeze one part, the other part will come out. You know why that is?
Why is that?
People love marijuana.
It's true.
That's why.
That's 100%
That's the only
true.
reason why. People love marijuana, and they think that it's good for them. And I'll tell you why I say that. Mm-hmm. Alcohol use is going down because people would rather get high and not get burned out body. And that's exactly what alcohol does. I have a thing about alcohol and tobacco. I don't have any friends left who smoke tobacco.
Yeah.
None. Even I know a few people who were just smoked blunts. One of them got lung cancer.
Wow.
So and died. And,
yeah.
And alcohol, you don't see people who drink a lot who survive past 60s. Just don't see it.
It's rare. It's more rare.
Yeah. So, but here I am, still puffing away.
Still puffing away. Look at Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
Look at you, Willie Nelson. We got, and you can smoke into your hundreds, I believe.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, for sure. So with all the things you've seen over the years, what was the thing that you were wrong about back in the day? Or is there one thing that you can remember that you were wrong about?
Well, just about acceptance of cannabis in society without it being a controversial issue. There's no reason for it to be a controversial issue, but for one reason or another, different governments have done that. And, you think about it. Clinton said he puffed, but he didn't inhale, right? So even without inhaling, I bet he got high. And so he knew that cannabis was okay. And Nixon said that cannabis isn't so bad. He knew it. And certainly Obama was ahead when he was in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And all of these people, the thing that is disappointing, especially about Obama, is he didn't have the courage to say, we're going to go with cannabis. And had he done that, he would have secured the Democratic Party.
Right.
Just think, if Biden had said cannabis, he would have won the election.
Yeah, but they don't see it. They don't see the bigger picture. Well,
the problem with Biden is it's sort of like my brother and myself. My brother's 4 years older than I was. Mm-hmm. And by the time 67 came around, he was out of college, he was married, he had a job, and he never experienced, that the revolution that happened, the Cultural Revolution. Right. And on the other hand, I was still floating. Like I had quit college. My brother was stuck with the Kingston Trio and the Letterman and people like that, and music like that. And meanwhile, the Doors were flooding my ears, and other psychedelic bands. So even though there was only a 4-year difference in our ages, it was generational.
Yeah.
And the problem with Biden, going back to Biden, is that he was in my brother's generation. Mm-hmm. If he had been 4 years younger, it would have been a changed person. Yeah. But he, to this day, never understood the '67 revolution.
Yeah, it's amazing how much changed in that
55
period.
years, you know?
Literally how much
60
changed in that
years.
short amount of time and just the way people think.
Yeah. The question was, which is more important, being a success or being happy? And generation after generation said success.
Yeah.
And then this generation, which could only have happened when there was great prosperity and workers were making enough so that their kids didn't have to go into the grind at that time. Mm-hmm. And college was free if you went to a state university.
Right.
That's what people don't realize, that it's only now that people have a burden of a financial burden from college, because most people could go to a state college and go pretty much free. But Biden was past that university stage, and he just didn't
shit the bed.
Couldn't understand it.
Yeah. Well, and it's sad that so many of these older generations, it's taken them so long to now say, oh, it's okay. Because there's a lot of older people that have now come around and, well, it's not that bad. You look at Florida, you know, how many older people consume cannabis, gummies, drinks, all that stuff. You know?
But when you look at Obama, he already knew. Yeah. He knew what he knew it, and then he let his attorney general run the department anti. Yeah, and that's unforgivable.
Right.
Just
I agree. It's ridiculous.
And he knew that lives were being ruined, and that he could do something about it, and he did nothing. That doesn't cause you to have a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, I have a hard time. I think.
With them all.
with both sides of the coin. You know? And it's like, it's just unacceptable that we're still fighting for this. But that's why we're here. That's why we're doing what we do. We're not going to stop. People that love cannabis are not going to stop. They're going to keep fighting just like they always have been. And now there's a lot more of us.
Yeah. Well, over the past couple of years, I've been going to India again a lot. And, my wife, Jane, and I are working on 2 projects in India. One is, the first is legalization, and the second is seed preservation. That is from India is about 2,000 miles from point of origination of cannabis. And that you have the most genetic variation at the point of origination. And as you stretch out from there, it gets more limited.
Right.
So we're going up to Arunachal Pradesh with a team from Himachal University. Yeah. We were there this year, and we did some. And it's very, very, the Himalayas, or even the foothills, are really rugged. I mean, it's just like going up 6 inches every time you take a step. It's really incredible. And there are whole towns that there's only a trail into the town and a trail out. You can't order a piano to be delivered.
No. So, you'd have to have it delivered by air.
Actually, I think they're going to, eventually they will have drones so that people will be able to go from their village down to a major city.
Wow.
I think that will happen in the next 10 years, that there'll be drones all over that area to give people more mobility.
It's amazing because Fritz, I don't know how he does it. He's a big guy and he hikes through all those little villages, and pretty amazing some of the adventures he's gone on.
Yeah, I think that his venturing into the villages is a little past.
Yeah.
But, there's India has a gigantic road building situation going on. So it's a lot easier to get to areas that were formerly remote than it used to be. And they're also putting out, there are a lot of airports being installed, actually. And first of all, they're on time, they're safe, and they're efficient. And the airports make U.S. airports look shabby.
Yeah.
They're really beautiful.
Nice.
the flights are very inexpensive. So rather than spending 12 or 14 hours to get to a site, to an area, just take a plane. And the roads are better. New roads all over the country. And some of them are just amazing. Like they cut into hills that are so steep. You say, how did they do this?
Yeah.
It's so incredible. The engineering for it is so incredible.
Technology has just come so far.
And the whole country has changed. When I first started going to India 45 years ago, it was typified by concave stomachs. And now the problem is that the middle-class people are too fat. You look at most men there, middle-class men, and 600 million people there are middle class. Mm-hmm. And most middle class men, if they're in their 30s, they're already putting on a big stomach.
That's too bad.
Yeah. But
I mean, we have our own problems here.
Yeah, but they have gyms there now.
Yeah.
And you see, like when I first went there, everything was manual. For instance, you'd get into like one of these tripod taxis, but it wasn't a taxi. It was basically a bicycle.
Yeah.
And now they have them, but people aren't exercising, doing those things, all these manual things. They're all gas or propane.
Right.
And Indian life has softened, but their eating habits haven't.
So the rickshaws.
What?
The rickshaw style.
Yeah, the rickshaws, they're not rickshaws anymore. They're these little carts. And, it's just like in Thailand, when there's a red light, mm-hmm. all of the motorcycles get to the front and they take off with the red light like it's some sort of race.
Right.
Each red light becomes...
Yeah. Totally. Every red light, they're racing to get. Yeah. So, but also, there's good water everywhere. It's bottled, mm-hmm. but you can get water. When I first went there, the closest you come is a soda drink. Oh wow!
And there's good medical care, mm-hmm. and people are not living the terrible life that they were living, that their grandparents were living.
Much better now.
Much better.
Yeah. Yeah, and the universities seem to be very interested in cannabis over there.
No, they're not.
Only the ones that we talk to. But
there are only a few universities there mm-hmm. that are doing anything with it, and they're not really. They're too afraid to actually do anything with it. They're not growing it.
Yeah.
None of them are growing it.
They're just securing germplasm.
They are not.
Oh, really?
No, they are not. That's what. I was part of a team this year that did that, but this is an individual who got associated with the university rather than with the university sending somebody out. There's not really a lot of work, and all the bureaucrats say, "Oh, it's not up to me. It's up to it's up to the next person."
Point.
Yeah. Go. And no, it's like 1970s America.
Wow.
There's a real repression, and the police like it because typical thing. Let's say you were stopped, you would say, "Well, rather than having to go to court, isn't there can I pay the fine now?"
Yeah.
And so it's
a
source of income for the police, so they don't want it to be legal,
right?
And most people who are involved in it in some sort of criminal
enterprise of some sort. Yeah.
So nobody really wants to touch it. And it's just now that there are people that are going towards legalization. And mm-hmm. one of the reasons I'm going back to India constantly is to work with the legalization people.
Right. How was it 45 years ago? Was it legal? It was illegal, but not understood?
To give it to you, there was a single convention on narcotics and dangerous drugs, and that was in 1961. And at that time, India was only 13 years old, and the British had just stripped it of any wealth that it had. So it was extremely poor country, dependent upon handouts from other countries. So the U.S. and other countries sign the Single Convention on Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs, and India signed it with the provision that they had 25 years to clean up their act. So it was legal until 1986, and then it was illegal. And as time has gone on, it's gotten more and more illegal. At first, they didn't take it seriously, and then they took it more and more seriously. And so they can't make it totally illegal because it has religious significance, especially to the followers of Shiva. And Shiva is one of the three main gods in the Hindu religion.
Yeah.
And Shiva he didn't smoke it; he drank it. It's called bhang.
Yeah.
And bhang is made by boiling marijuana leaves in water for a long time and then making a ball out of it, and it becomes very, very potent. People to this day use it during religious holidays such as Diwali and Holi. Holi is the one with all the pigments that are, everybody throws pigments at everybody else. So that's legal. But flowers aren't legal. So they have to harvest as a plant starts to flower.
Right.
So they're making their pharmaceuticals, everything that they're making that's legal is made from pre-flowering leaves.
Wow.
And if it's higher than 0.32%, they can get in trouble and all that. You have all this craziness. And on the other hand, when you go up into the Himalayas, like unless they send the army up, which they did to some of the northern provinces this year, but people go up and they don't harvest the leaf or the bud. What they do is they rub the bud. It's feral, and you can see pictures of it on my on my internet sites. But it's feral, and they rub it, and so that they, instead of bringing down plants, they're bringing down hash.
Charas.
Yeah. But it's basically finger hash that they're bringing down from the mountains. And that's very popular all over northern India. Delhi isn't far from there, so most of the material that most people smoke is that charas. And that charas, it can range in potency because it's all from feral material.
Yeah.
And here, one of the things is that the closer that you are from point of origination, the more variation that you'll get. It's also that it isn't quite wild, it's semi-wild, it's sort of feral. But if you look at any individual plot, you will see plants that look sativa, indica. There were some plants that were about 3 feet wide, but only 2 feet high, next to some plant that's a giant sativa. And that's exactly what evolution says a field like that should be like, because there's not uniformity.
Yeah.
And
what about, so this is an interesting conversation because we've touched on this previously together, but what about adaptation over time? They talk about adaptation to the environment. You're talking about terroir, and you're talking about, the sun and.
Well, it's like this. We don't live in a temperate area. We live in a Mediterranean climate right here on the coast of California. But in temperate areas, for the northern tier where most Americans live, one year you'll have a cloudy summer, another year you'll have a sunny summer, and another year you'll have all rain.
Yeah.
So an organism will do best if it's adaptable. And the way that it's adaptable is by having a large variation in genes regarding that. So some plants will do better when it's rainy, or do least worst, or some plants will, and if it's sunny, some plants will thrive more than others. Yeah. And dry, cloudy, wet, humid, So each year there's a variation in, there's an average what the summer is, but no summer is average.
Right.
So,
which is much different than like Morocco, where it's like very dry and there's
that's
climate,
right.
and so we get something that expresses similarly through natural selection.
No, there's not natural selection, and there never has been natural selection in Morocco.
Yeah.
I'll go into that in a second.
Sure.
But here, so what happens is that you have this wide variety of cannabis. And so all of these plants, if you will, are sort of hybrids because their genomes might have two different alleles on them and for any particular characteristic.
Yeah, and it's not locked in.
So by having this wide variety, no matter what the season is, some plants will do well enough to survive and generate again, and they'll also carry genes that will do better at a different time. So it does better to have variation. And this is pretty much, there's some actual planting or tearing down of certain plants in some areas, but when you go up to the Himalayas, the foothills, it's everywhere. It's at the side of the road. It's like dandelions in the Midwest. I mean, it's just everywhere. It's just a weed that you see all over. So the places where the harvesters go to harvest this stuff, they might spread some seeds from a particular plant, so they're affecting it. But in general, it's this wild open pollination for thousands of miles.
Yeah.
So there's no way of protecting it. Now, Morocco is a little different. I never saw any wild cannabis in Morocco or any feral cannabis.
No, it's the Moroccan Baldia, right, mostly. Well, not anymore. Not anymore. What? It was for the longest time.
No, Baldia is not the original. The people who are telling you this were not there before marijuana, before European varieties were introduced. They're 40 years old. European varieties have been introduced for 40 years. There is no pure Moroccan growing in a field in Morocco anymore. Right. The Baldia, I'm not saying that it's not a separate variety from others, but it certainly isn't what they say the original Moroccan. The original Moroccan was a single stalk. In fact, you could grow a single plant and it would just be one stalk.
Yeah, tall.
One tall stalk, about 6 feet high, 4 to 6 feet high.
Wow.
That doesn't exist anymore. It would come in the last week in August, first week in September. Now it comes in much later. And the reason for that is every time hash buyers, wholesale hash buyers come into Morocco to buy weed, to buy hash, they leave a whole bunch of seed. So year after year, the farmers plant that seed. And the first year, for instance, that seed will do really well because it hasn't been crossed.
Yeah.
But then again, you have all this open pollination. So year after year, European varieties have been introduced, so there's no pure Moroccan except in collections.
Interesting.
And the people who will tell you this is they weren't born. They were 35. It was older. How would they know? They wouldn't know. And it's just so I went through that with when I was there a couple of years ago, and all these people are telling me, and I was with a group that they're believing everything these people said, and I had the pictures to show it. I still have the pictures, and I can show you the difference between what's there now and what was originally there.
Right.
Not the same.
Interesting.
And also, one other thing, the Moroccan that was grown 30 and 40 years ago was some of the worst pot I've ever smoked.
Huh.
It was terrible. It was so bad, I couldn't get high from the hash.
Really?
People would say, I have some good Moroccan hash. I said, that's a contradiction in terms. One time I came and I went up there was this tea shop up in the hills. And I had just come from Holland, and I had a number of pre-rolls. And so I lit up a pre-roll, and, it was very fragrant. And I got mobbed by all the people that, the men don't work. They're sitting around smoking this mixture of tobacco and hash all day. And the women are out in the fields or doing whatever. And the only time the women get out of the house is to go to the fields or to a wedding.
Wow.
But other than that, they're stuck in the house. And if you're a visitor, they give you a room facing out, but you can't get into the inside of the house. It's a guest room.
Yeah.
And they don't want the guests messing near the women. And they don't want, more than that, they don't want the women near the guests, especially if the guests happen to be female.
Mm-hmm.
Because they
Makes
don't want
sense.
contamination.
Right.
So they didn't have contamination of the female women, but they had contamination of the female pot.
Right. Yeah, a lot of contamination.
A lot of contamination. And I still have the photos from when I went there years ago, and you'll see a much different plant than is there now.
Yeah.
And so it's a different situation. And the reason why it's so important to work on India right now, I do believe that in private collections, there is a lot of old Moroccan seed.
Huh. Yeah.
It's pretty easy to go to Morocco.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. India is a different story. And going up to the Himalayas, you have to, it's not a Western tourist thing. Actually, the areas where I went, I stayed in homestays where Indian hikers would go. Mm-hmm. So here's a trick question. Who are the most tourists in India?
Americans.
No, Indians.
I knew you were going to say that, but I just, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So these trails are not for foreigners, it's for Indians. But I stayed at homestays up there. And I would not say that dealers are going up there to collect charas. They wait for it to come down to Delhi or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's not that far from Delhi.
Interesting. So out of all your adventures, and we've had some adventures in Amsterdam, some of my best memories in Amsterdam were with you and Soma and Mila eating at the Golden Dragon. Yeah. And we've had some great times, but out of all the vacations and all the travel you've gone on, where's your favorite place?
I'm drawn back to India over and over.
Yeah.
And right now, I feel, I'm a generalist. Mm-hmm. So I cover a lot of different parts of cannabis.
Yeah.
And Jane says, my wife says, you have to be the cheapest, the best, or the only. And for a long time, I was the only. And it's much easier being the only than being the best.
Yeah.
So, and being a generalist and America being past that, where there are people who are just studying a particular chemistry or a particular breeding mm-hmm. or a particular breed. It's all specialists now.
It's all refined. I agree.
It's all specialist. And so India is new territory for me. And so, specialists, there are already specialists there, but there aren't any there aren't many generalists.
There are not enough generalists, yeah.
So I feel really at home there. Nice. Jane, not so much, but when we came back to the United States the last time, we couldn't stand the lack of cacophony in the inner city.
Right.
For instance, in Delhi, it's total cacophony, and it became like background music to us.
Wow.
Something. So
interesting.
And it's very convenient being there. I mean, it's not like the rough travel that you would have had 40 years ago.
Yeah.
I fly everywhere. Yeah. There are good roads.
Very comfortable.
Yeah. You can't drive.
Yeah.
The driving, it's a driving style that's so crazy. I'd immediately be in an accident. So would you. It's not just me. It's like, it's
so
different.
I've heard.
Yeah.
Well, so speaking of driving and craziness, Jamaica is another interesting one because you spent time in Jamaica. In fact, I think you at one point pre-COVID were about to go live there and get a passport and everything.
Right. Yeah. But yeah.
So how did all that work out? What do you think?
It didn't work out.
Yeah.
But what happened was people who were running it were like made some unfortunate decisions, or like if it had succeeded, you wouldn't have said they were unfortunate, but they made some unfortunate decisions, and they actually sold the land. So I never got to work there.
You've really been all over too, because I mean, I remember getting on a conference call. It must have been 2018 with the university. We were talking about some projects. Your name came up, and then you were actually on the conference call in Canada. And so you've been all over.
Yeah, I've I'm interested. Like cannabis has been a great hobby, and it's taken me all over the world, and it's more fun than stamp collecting.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit.
For me, I mean, some people might really get off on stamp collecting. But
sure. My father collected stamps.
Yeah.
I inherited a stamp collection. I'm not big on collecting stamps, but I did inherit a stamp collection. So when did you know that your book was going to be real big?
Well, as soon as it came out, and we needed a second, and the publisher needed a second printing immediately.
Wow. And now how many printings have you done?
Well, there are so many books that have been done. I don't know. It's just
12th printing or something like that.
No. I don't know all the printings that Andor Press did.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I became my own publisher is because they forgot about they forgot at least one of the printings.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And
well, that's an interesting world because you really, and you've published lots of
Let
books.
me explain. When I say they forgot one of the printings, they got paid. They just forgot to pay us.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Oh, we had a printing. We didn't pay you.
Yeah. Oops.
Oops.
Yeah, it happens. But you've published lots of books, not just your own, but lots of books on the subject.
Yeah.
Lots of books in the space for other people. I mean, how many books? Lots of great books.
Because not only have I written books for a book, but there have been compilations of my articles in High Times that have become books.
Yeah.
Things like that. So there are a great number of them.
Yeah, cannabis cookbooks, books on fungus, mushrooms.
Yeah. Well, those are that in those cases, like the cookbooks, the mushroom books. I'm just a publisher. I'm not the writer.
Right.
But I've written a couple of dozen books, probably.
Pretty amazing.
It's interesting. Like, for instance, I knew Carlton Turner, and he was the first head of the marijuana program at the University of Mississippi. Mm-hmm. And we became friends. And in fact, he became the first drug advisor to Reagan.
Yep.
So anyway, I went and interviewed him at the White House.
Wow.
I've been able to keep good relations with scientists, and scientists who worked for the government and things. So that's been good. But what happened was, for instance, for the book Marijuana Beer that I wrote, and what happened was Carlton Turner calls me up. He says, "I'm no longer working for the Reagan regime." And what that meant is, "Ed, you better close up shop because I can't protect you anymore." Wow. Okay. So there I am. I have this space. What am I going to do? And I said, you know what America needs? Marijuana beer. And so I'm not a beer drinker, but I learned how to taste beer. I learned how to make the different kinds of beers. I learned how to put marijuana in the beer. wrote the book. The book came with labels. It's still available on the aftermarket. It's now maybe my most expensive book. It's on the aftermarket. I've seen it for like up to $150.
Wow.
So, but anyway, so after I did that, I never made another beer. That was it. I just did it to write the book. Yeah.
Experiments.
Yeah. Because I knew I couldn't grow for a little while.
You know, you had a really good book that I got early on that was on CO2. And you're the first person who even touched on the subject. Like literally everybody uses CO2 in commercial settings now. Literally, if you have a commercial setting.
You can't not use it. If you do, you're wasting electricity.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I mean, temperature and CO2, these aren't things we used to think about back in the day, but then you had a book and it changed the way we thought about everything.
You know, as a teacher, you just have to stay one step ahead of your students.
Yeah, for sure. Well, especially in that world. But, you know, and there wasn't a ton of information out there. We were learning from each other. We were experimenting. We got information from your book. We got information from Jorge's books, Jim's books, Rob Clark's books. But there, you know, other than that, that was limited. And then you had to get experience. And really, experience is the best, but it's also, it can cost you the most.
First of all, I had access to a lot of other people's gardens, so I could see what other people were doing.
Yeah.
That was one thing. And then another is that there is a lot of botanical information out there that applies to all plants, not just cannabis. I mean, cannabis is not the only C3 plant in the world. Mm-hmm. That is a plant that if you give it more CO2 when it's photosynthesizing, it will photosynthesize faster. Most temperate plants are like that. So there was all this information on that, and it just had to be applied to cannabis. It wasn't like, I wasn't doing rocket science on a lot of that. It was just hitting the books, so to speak.
Yep.
And it was more difficult at the time because, you know, now if you want a scientific paper, you just pull it up from off your computer.
Right.
But at that time, Jim and I were at UC Berkeley Library. Well, we pulling up papers and things, and what you do, we would make you needed a little a note for each paper that you wanted, what it was, and you'd wait 20, 25 minutes, and you could only do 10 papers at a time, or something like that. And you're going through the papers, and most papers you're flipping through, this isn't it, and then you hit something good. But we spent a lot of time in libraries as well as visiting people and things like that, and speculating. And, you know, we had a background in scientific method, mm-hmm. and that's something that I think that some of the early writers didn't have. They were writing on myth, and so we were able to clear a lot of that up.
So, was there anything you got wrong in your writings back in the day that you feel like you got wrong looking back?
Well, we didn't spend enough time, I think, on living soil. Well, it's not that we didn't cover it, but that wasn't an issue at the time. There might have been small little things, but nothing major. You know. And I helped to introduce light deprivation, but all of those things, somebody knew about it. Like, for instance, light deprivation, chrysanthemums. What do they do for chrysanthemums? You get chrysanthemums all year round in the forest, right?
Yeah.
So there must be light deprivation, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a fall flowering plant.
Right.
So,
but there is some form of light deprivation in the forest. That's why you're getting them all year round. That's what you're saying.
No. What I was saying is, for instance, when we were describing light deprivation, mm-hmm. it already had been going on, not for cannabis necessarily, right. but for chrysanthemums.
Sure.
So there was no difference in the technique.
Yeah. Right.
So a lot of it was applying general botanical and
yeah.
horticultural techniques to cannabis,
Right.
which the first writers didn't do
Mm-hmm.
because
They were trying to think outside the box.
they were just talking from their experiences.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like a lot of the tech that we've got in our industry has come from other places, whether it's extraction, like Kenny, K from Trichome Technologies.
No, it actually came from Pete Sutton.
Well, Pete Sutton too. But
Pete
yeah,
Sutton, no, he was the guy who popularized it.
Yeah.
Kenny came much later.
Yeah.
10 years after, 15 years after.
In 98, starting in 98.
You remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was
yeah, it was 10 years. And I mean, there was a book on cannabis chemistry.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a little tiny book.
Yeah.
And cannabis, that was from the 80s. I bought that I bought that book on Telegraph Avenue. You couldn't buy that in a bookshop, but it was sold on the street.
But Pete Sutton was a guy who went around, he had those little tubes of some sort of gel or something.
Yeah.
And he would open it up from the other side, not from
right,
and fill it and then close it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Interesting.
And his had to be 50%, 60%.
Yeah, and that was the 80s were where a lot of the research started going on. People
Yeah.
started experimenting with stuff.
Yeah.
And then it started evolving in the late 90s into BHO. I believe that's where Kenny came in, was into the BHO. Especially, writing white papers early on, water extraction, all these things. We started getting those in the 90s, with Kenny, with Mila, with a bunch of people, Bubble Man. We got Marcus doing his thing, and then it's evolved in. What do you think about hash today and how far it's come?
I think that it's good that people can get very pure material and use less of it. In other words, even if you're using all the oil or extract that you want, there's a limit to what you can use, and you're not getting all of the plant material, the smoke and the carcinogens in it.
Right.
And people were saying, "Oh, this is so dangerous. People are going to fall off their bar stool or something." And just hasn't happened.
No. And if it would have happened, it would have happened to you, because I've seen the amount you could smoke, like firsthand, especially, dabs. When we first started doing, like around 2012, Uncle Stoner brought me to what was it? We hung out at the Hemp Fest in Sacramento, and you sat at my booth and I gave you dab after dab after dab. And yeah, I mean, you smoked a lot that day. And it's like and we did have somebody pass out. It wasn't you though, but yeah, you went a little comatose for a minute, but you came right back. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, good times. And that was in 2012. And that was with the first rigs and all this stuff. And we've really refined some of that stuff now.
Well, I do think that they will find that cannabis is a neuroprotectant.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Look at Willie. He's But interesting. So let's talk a little bit about your idols and who you looked up to growing up.
Pete Seeger.
Pete Seeger.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Because there were several things. First of all, he was banned. Like, they wouldn't rent a hall for him to play his music.
Mm-hmm.
He was labeled a communist, and so they gave him a hard time, but he persevered and he stood for what he felt was right. And he did a lot of amazing things. For one thing, he's a guy who cleaned up the Hudson River.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he had a sloop, the SS Clearwater, and he went from town to town all along the river, getting people involved. And so as he did that, it became more and more imperative, and it forced GE to clean up the river from all the pollutants that it had dumped in the river years ago. People are swimming in it now, in the Hudson. So pretty amazing. but he did a lot of other things. He, opposed American imperialism, and he opposed racial discrimination and those things. And he persevered even under the utmost criticism. And when I was going to college, it was during the Vietnam War, and I was living in a steel town, and it was very pro war, a lot of steel, and so I was pretty isolated, but I could look up to him and say, "Hey, well, just do it, do your thing."
Nice.
So that's the person I think the most.
Nice. With Bobby from the Grateful Dead passing, he talked about a 300-year legacy.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the 300-year legacy, and how do you feel cannabis applies to that?
Well, they're on 50 or 60 years, so they're 1/5 of the way. And the difference between them and other bands, almost all the other bands, is that they develop their own genre of music. So whether it's Dead or a band that was inspired by the Dead, I think their music will be played for a long, long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to evolve. I talk about the wild mustard and how we can look back 2,500 years and see where wild mustard evolved into, brassica evolving into everything from Brussels sprouts
to
cabbage to leaves. So we have, we've got all these different, greens. Yeah. We've got, Romanesco. We've got broccoli, all from wild mustard through human interaction. Yes. And
cauliflower.
What do you think about cannabis and how it's going to evolve? We're already kind of going in that direction with all these different varieties.
I think that what's ultimately going to happen is they're going to take the genetics for THC and the other cannabinoids and the terpenes and flavonoids, and they're going to put it into a yeast.
Just grow from yeast?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been experimenting with that for years now, but they haven't successfully been able to scale it.
So give it another 10 years.
Yeah.
So think of it this way, folks. You want to smoke some cannabis, and you don't have any. So you buy a tent, you put up a light, you put the plants in, and it takes you 70 to 120 days to be able to smoke some bud. Or you take this little packet of yeast that produces THC, and you put it into a container with some sugar and water, and 5 days later, you refine the THC from the beer, or you just drink the beer, and there you are. So do you want to spend 90 days, lights, and all that stuff, or just put some powder in sugar water, and 5 days later, run it through your little machine, and there you are.
Yeah.
So I think that especially for concentrates and extracts and things like that, and then you'll be able to refine it so that you say, well, we want these particular terpenes or these particular flavonoids in it, or whatever. And so imagine they take a sweat test. They take just some of your tear or, some water from you, and they do an analysis. And then they say, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to be happy? Do you want to concentrate? What do you want?
Yeah.
And then you say something, and then based on your genetics and your desires, they have a little machine that's going to concoct this for you. And it's sort of like, think of, you go to a paint store and you have a sample of paint, and they do an optical scan of the paint and they match it because they have all those different pigments.
Right.
So imagine all these different terpenes, and they just put in the particular terpenes that are going to affect you personally because of based on your genetics that they got from your a little bit of liquid, saliva or tear or whatever, and they design a cannabis just for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's possible.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that we're just scratching the surface of it now, but that's the future, is to be able to get exactly what you need for whatever you're looking for.
Yeah. And so, like, I just hope that I'm around to write the first book about how to do this on a consumer level.
Wouldn't surprise me a bit. Wouldn't surprise me at all. So, looking back, what would you like people to remember you for? Or how would you like to
I'll
be
tell you the
remembered?
most significant thing that I've done in my life. It's easy. Like, this whole group was supposed to write the new cannabis initiative. This is before we had the initiative. So Dennis Perone started circulating the petition. And he said, well, look, San Francisco is 1/11 of the population of California or something like that. And so all we have to do, or 1/33rd, I should say, I said 1/11th, 1/33rd. So all we have to do is get the petitioning and just repeat it over and over in all these different areas.
Right.
But running a statewide isn't like running a citywide petition drive. So Dennis sort of gave up on it. But I was the chairperson of Alameda County Drive, and we were the only county that was self-funded. And I put some money in, Dale put some money in, other people put money in. So we weren't taking money from the general fund. So when Dennis quit, all petitioning stopped except in Alameda County. So I called Ethan Nadelman, and Ethan Nadelman had relationships with all these rich people. The guy who owned Phoenix University and George Zimmer from Men's Warehouse.
He was a real pothead.
I just saw him a couple of weeks ago.
Great guy.
Yeah. Anyway, so he knew all these people. And I said to Ethan, you should check this out. And he called up Dennis, and Dennis said, oh, we don't need your money. We're going to do it ourselves. And I got a call from Nadelman. Yeah, Dennis doesn't need our money. So I just got in the car, went over to Dennis's house and said, Dennis, he's going to call you again, and you're not going to tell him that you don't need the money. You're going to be enthusiastic about it. And don't tell him, just be enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't think I'm a really threatening person, but I was so, I don't even know the word for it. It was just, this has to happen. So Dennis did. Then Ethan Nadelman gets back to me and he says, listen, I've spoken with all these people and they say, this is so disorganized and it's a little late. Why don't we wait 2 years and we'll have all the money and everything? And I immediately said to him, we can't wait for this reason. The police and all the antis don't believe the polls. They say these polls must be incorrect because it was such a high rating for cannabis, higher than any politician. And that's one of my sayings. Marijuana is more the reason why politicians hate marijuana is it's more popular than they are.
Yeah.
Marijuana is more popular than any politician. So, and that's why the Democrats should put up a pro-pot presidential candidate.
Yeah. And
just immediately pick up another 10 million votes. So anyway, so they come back and they say that, is they say, oh, we'll wait 2 years and we'll have a better initiative and all that. And I say there'll be an inflation of opposition. And so no matter what we do, we're going to be killed if we wait 2 years.
Yeah.
So he tells people that they put in money. So what the initiative is, the signature gathering is going well, but we're running out of money. And I call Ethan up and I say, we need more money. And he says, oh, I've spoken with the people. They don't know. They don't want to put more money in. So I said, call me tomorrow and I'll give you the answer. And the answer was this. You're a business person. So let's say you're working on a new project and it's working well, but it costs more money than you think it will, but it's going to be successful.
It always does.
So are you going to give up everything for the want of a few more dollars?
No. And that's how business works.
And that turned on the spigot again.
It always costs twice as much and takes twice as long.
And so we got on the ballot. And you see, once we were on the ballot, we didn't have to do anything. We didn't have to campaign, nothing, because we had such a majority, such a large majority, and the other side was not prepared. So we won, and that changed the world.
Yeah.
So that's the most important thing I've done.
What was your earliest memory of cannabis?
Well, I was at this university in Ohio, and my roommates and I decided to go out and buy some cannabis. Mm-hmm. And I was like 19, something, 20. And we went out and got some. And as soon as I got high, I said, I wasn't into alcohol anyway, but I didn't really like alcohol. And I had a friend who had become an alcoholic while in high school and had to stop communicating with him. It hurt me too much to see him. He eventually stopped drinking. But anyway, so, and I tried cannabis, and immediately I knew that this was going to be a long-term relationship. And I'll tell you how long-term it is. It's a female that I've had the longest relationship with, longer than with my mother or with my wife.
Same.
So, and, I hear people saying, oh, I used to smoke, but my wife didn't like it, so I gave it up.
Yeah.
My wife with a cannabis. So I have this story. So, I used to do stand-up.
Yes.
So, I had this girlfriend, and she said, she said, I'm tired of this. Before we go to the movies, you have to smoke a joint. Before we go out to eat, you have to smoke a joint. Before we do this, you have to go out to eat. You have to smoke a joint. You have to smoke a joint now. You have to smoke a joint then. I'm tired of it. It's me or the cannabis. So, if you're going to make an important decision in your life, first you want to think about it straight, and then you want to get high and think about it because you'll have different insights being high or being straight. So I had already thought about it straight. So I was rolling a joint and I was lighting the joint and lit the joint and smoking the joint to see whether I was going to give up my girlfriend or the cannabis. But the situation was resolved because as I was smoking the joint, she moved out.
There you go. Yeah, it's been an interesting run.
Yeah.
So we talked about a lot of travel, and then let's talk about books. Let's talk about what you're up to these days, because you're always up to something.
Yes. Well, as I mentioned, I was in India, and when I was there and saw all this, I was there when, as I said, when it was legal, and then it became illegal. And then I published this book 4 years ago about pictures that I had taken 40 years ago. It's called Ganja in India. And by the way, it is not available. It's not available through Amazon. You have to get it through the Quick Trading Company, Quick Publishing. So anyway, so at that time it was legal. And so I've coming back and publishing this book 4 years ago, I decided to go back to India and see what the situation was. And it was a situation like 1970s America. It was a terrible situation. And so Jane and I decided that we would work on changing the situation in India. And so we're spending time there helping organizers there. I think of myself there more as a cheerleader. I'm not a member. You know, I work with all the, just like in the United States, I work with all the different legalization organizations,
right,
as well as working on the seed preservation before the land races get contaminated with seed by Western seed. I'm not suggesting that farmers shouldn't grow the best product possible, but just that we protect that genetics so that it can be used in research and breeding.
Right.
So those are the two projects that Jane and I are working on. And last year we spent 3 months there. This year we'll probably spend 4 months.
Nice.
And it's really a different experience. And this is there's room there for a generalist.
Nice.
Because they're so far behind, and there's no reason for them to be like that.
Mm-hmm. And
I'd say that it's an insult to Shiva. He's one, as I said, one of the three major Indian gods. That his favorite preoccupation is vilified. We're going to change that.
Yeah. Nice. Question for you. Tell me about the best weed you ever smoked.
I don't know if I would say this today, but at the time, I thought NO5 haze was such an incredible, like almost trippy high.
Yeah.
So, and it was the stuff that I smoked was grown by Neville, so it was pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah.
I bet. Yeah. I mean, Neville had some amazing hazes.
Yeah.
The A5 is my favorite.
The problem with the NO5 haze is that you really need much more light than you're going to get in a grow room. You need more light than that, and it takes a long time to develop.
14 weeks.
And the place to grow it is the southern tier of the United States, Mexico, areas like that, and it will take less time.
Getting closer to the equator.
Yeah, well, more light, more intense light, right. And a shorter a shorter day length, and a longer season. Yep. And so you could grow it like in Los Angeles, San Diego, Florida. That it's an ideal plant for those areas. Nice. The southern tier.
I got some in my bag for you.
Oh, well, I'm telling you that when I leave with that, I'm going to destroy it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're going to test it.
I'm going to I'm going to destroy it.
Nice. Combustion.
In small controlled fires.
Nice.
You know that I had the alternative DEA. You know about that?
Mm-mm.
Oh, well, the DEA was trying to eliminate cannabis as much as possible.
Yeah.
And so I registered thousands and thousands of people at different rallies to help the DEA. And these people pledged to look for, find, seize, and destroy as much marijuana as possible. And many of them were presented with special thermal papers where they could have controlled fires to do that. And other people were carrying little portable, little portable hazardous waste incinerators.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
You've seen those.
Yeah.
Some people called them pipes, but I don't know why they were these.
Totally.
So, yes.
Protopipes.
Yeah. All of them. So the alternative DEA and its agents destroyed tons and tons of cannabis. So that the idea was to get the price high enough by limiting supply so that kids would not be able to afford it.
Right. Good cause.
Yes.
Definitely a good cause.
Yeah.
So if you had one piece of advice for your younger self, or let's change it around a little bit. If you had one piece of advice for aspiring writers, people that want to write books, what would that one piece of advice be?
Find a different profession. It's going to be very, very difficult. Yeah. Much more difficult for writers because right now, people aren't accepting of, computer written material, AI written material, but they will. And I'll tell you just a little experience that I had. A friend of mine is involved in a civil court case, doesn't matter what the dispute was. And he outlined it for ChatGPT, ChatGPT, and it came up with all this information as well as ideas of how to proceed that the lawyer had not even thought of.
Yeah.
And that's what, and writing is going to be like that. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be less room for writers.
So how do you think that'll affect books in the future? Do you think we're going to be learning from books, or do you think that'll evolve into learning from AI, to learning however you're best learning? Some people read, some people like seeing it, some people like doing it.
I think that reading is a big portion of it, whether it's on a computer or a book, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But
you don't think reading's going away?
Reading's not going away. Yeah. Because it's the most efficient way to provide and preserve information.
Yeah. Well, some people want to watch it on YouTube or watch a tutorial.
Well, there's some material that will work that way. And then there's other material that, no, you really actually have to be able to go back to it and do it in an analog fashion. Right. For instance, let's say you put several tabs in a book. Mm-hmm. You can compare them all at the same time easier than on a computer, possibly.
Yeah.
You can go back in an analog fashion. And there's times when analog is better than digital. Mm-hmm. So, and also for everything that you get in a book, you can get on a computer.
Right.
Right. But so we're not talking about the form necessarily, right, but the idea of a complete work will be the same. For instance, you can listen to there's so much audio. Right. You can listen to a book, but it's the equivalent of reading. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so whether you're using your eyes or your ears, they're both senses that are taking things from the outside world and bringing them into your brain.
Yeah. Yeah, we're creating a new AI version of my book. That's our new thing. So it should be done by next year if all goes well. You'll be able to talk to me on the screen and you'll be able to ask me questions. And if you want to read it, we can put that right up there for you too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so if people are looking to find out more about Ed Rosenthal, where is the best place to go? Seems like everywhere. There's so much info.
I don't know. I have a lot. I'm not really into cult of personality too much, especially with the personality that I have. And so I think that I'm represented in my works.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I think it's been a great podcast. I look forward to traveling with you someday soon. Maybe we'll go to Morocco together. I'd love that.
No, we're going to go to India together.
India would be amazing as well.
Yeah, Morocco is covered.
Yeah.
There are loads of people going there. It's easy to go there.
I'm going there.
Yeah. You look out of your hotel when you're up in the mountains and you're looking at cannabis. It's everywhere, right? But the Indian situation is a little different. So
nice.
And the thing about India that makes it so important is that all that genetics that's up near point of origination has not been compromised yet. So it's very important to collect that genetics before it becomes compromised the way Morocco is.
Nice. Well, thank you again. Have a great day.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you guys very much for your support. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe down below.